enzyme? You know, it means non-competitive. And if they're non-competitive, I should think graphs. And as I think graphs, let me show you how it could sound on your exam. You remember those biochemistry graphs? I'm sure you do, and I'm sure you're sweating already. This would be 1 over acetylcholine, the substrate. This would represent acetylcholine esterase, the enzyme. And here would be 1 over the speed of production of the product, which is choline or acetate. Let's not forget that here on the y-axis where the curve crosses, you see 1 over Vmax. And of course, here on the x-axis, you see minus 1 over Km. Whereas Vmax gives you idea about how many enzymes you have working, Km gives you an idea as to the affinity of such enzymes. So what would I do with a non-competitive inhibitor? If I'm irreversibly binding to the enzyme, do I change the shape of the enzyme? Or do I change the number of enzymes that are available for metabolism? Well, what I'm doing with irreversible inhibition is decreasing the number. And if I'm decreasing the number, I'm decreasing Vmax. The speed of metabolism will go slower because I have less enzymes working on acetylcholine. Pretty straightforward. You decrease Vmax. So go from 2 to 1. That's a decrease. Then what would happen to 1 over Vmax? It would go from 1 over 2, which is 0.5, to 1 over 1, which is 1. So if this was 0.5, that would be 1. In which case, no change in affinity, crossing higher, this is where you would put your organophosphates. So if the organophosphates would be there, guess where, of course, would neostigmine family of drugs be? All the other drugs we reviewed so far were competitive inhibitors. Competitive inhibitors do not change Vmax, so they would cross the y-axis at the same spot. What they change is the affinity. They change the shape, therefore, they actually decrease the affinity. It would still be a curve that is above the black curve, but this would be the hallmark feature of neostigmine family or competitive inhibitors. You know, many of your predecessors report to us these questions that use graphics of biochemistry. Be aware of them. Work them back out with your biochem book and now start applying them to drugs. Every occasion I have where I know there's been a board question like this, I will share it with you. And if inhibition is always above the black curve, then remember, I'm not going to draw them for clarity, but anything that turns on enzymes would be below that black curve. Well, back to the notes. What is an organophosphate?